All right, welcome back to the Rain Brings Growth podcast. We got Zach Martin here. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Matthew?
Hell yeah, doing good. It's been a while, man. Haven't seen you in person. Just seen you on your content, and it's been awesome watching you. How's it been?
It's been good, man, and thank you for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're a realtor now. You had some kids. You got married. You've been married, but how's life going?
It's going, man. The more kids you have, the busier you get.
Oh yeah. I know that feeling, man. I got 4 running around, so
Shoot, well, why I have you, I guess I'm catching up to you. You knew that I had 2. Well, I have 3 now on the way.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're due? Or when
January
she's due?
7th.
Wow.
On my birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. That'll be easy to remember birthdays in the house, huh?
Can't forget it.
Right? Sweet, dude. So let's yeah, I haven't seen you probably since what? We used to work together. When did you leave? 2019?
2020.
2020?
Yep.
All right. So what have you been doing since then?
So we worked together.
Yeah.
After maternity leave, I didn't come back. Ended up watching my kid full time and got into real estate and just really learned what real estate was really about while raising my daughter. When she hit 14 months old, that's when I went full-time real estate.
Nice. What were you doing? Just getting your toes wet in the meantime? Were you just had a mentor or something, or?
Yeah, I had a mentor. His name's Merrick Davis. He's out of Pocatello. I met him back in 2011. We maintained touch, and then in 2019, when I bought my first house, I used him as my agent. And I always had a fascination for real estate, but just never jumped into it because when I graduated high school, the recession happened, between 08 and 09, and I graduated in 2010. So my parents were like, go to college, which I knew. I went for 3 years and never did anything with anything.
What'd you go for?
Started out doing nursing. I ended up going into political science and criminal justice because I wanted to be a forensic scientist, but I realized quickly a lot of school and really didn't have the mentality to stay in college, so I dropped out my junior year.
Yeah. So you got in doing the realtor thing in 2021. That's when the market was booming. That was like peak COVID. I know that's when I sold my house was in the end of 2021, and I pretty much doubled my equity from when I bought it. So, I mean, you got in at a good time then, yeah?
Yeah, and then it was a different market than it is today. I think it challenged me, and today's market's even more challenging, but I don't think I'd be where I'm at today if it wasn't for getting into it when I did back in 2021.
Yeah, you think there's just such a saturation in the market that it gave you a lot of experience? You do a lot of reps with a lot of different houses. Is that what helped you out then?
Yeah, and at that time it was a seller's market, like very heavily. You're seeing people buying sight unseen, people going 100K above asking. And obviously when you're working with first-time home buyers, you can't tell them to go 100K above asking.
Yeah.
You can't be an all-cash offer. So you had to really learn how to negotiate and understand when to get out and not to stay in the fight when you knew you were going to lose, because you have to have your client's best interest. And I don't think going 100K above asking's having your client's best interest, in my opinion. You
were doing it part-time for a little bit. What were you doing in the meantime between?
So I got into investing in sports cards, and you guys all knew me back from the Idaho Department of Corrections days selling sneakers. I was doing that to supplement the income I lost from working in the prison, to basically just hustling, selling sports cards, selling shoes, reinvesting the money over and over again. And I was able to sustain myself because I think I got my license in April of 2021. Didn't start really doing anything until the end of May. Got my first closing in June, and I think I had 4 or 5 closings that year. Just doing it very, very, very small amount of real estate because, again, was watching, a 3-month-old all the way up until she turned 1 in 2021.
So, I mean, you're doing that part-time and you're doing 5 or 6 closings part-time, and you're getting a good supplement from your side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just started to give up on the side, not give up on it, but just trying to transition to a more full-time.
Yeah, and I mean, I got to give credit where it's due. Without shoes and selling sports cards, I wouldn't have had the mindset of how businesses work, how to sell, how to talk to people, how to build a relationship. So I utilized sports cards and selling shoes to get into the real estate side of things. And I've had a handful of clients just between sports cards and shoes that became friends and then became clients, and now they're lifetime friends, all because of sports cards.
I try to tell everybody they need to get a side hustle. I mean, it's a controversial opinion I have, but in this day and age, I feel like if you don't have enough money, it's your choice, because there's so many different ways you can get a side hustle, whether it's driving for Uber or just buying low, selling high. You know what, you find your niche. Yours was sports cards and shoes. beginning of 2021, I told my wife, I want to make more money. I'm not interested in the promotion kind of deal. I want to still stay where I'm at, but I want to make more money. And I decided to, look around and try and figure it out. At the time, it was COVID, so everything was all shut down. Um, and I did a lot of auctions, like in-person auctions. I loved going to those growing up. I just liked buying stuff. It wasn't like just collecting, just cool stuff. And she's like, you kind of got to hold off on buying all this stuff, because if you want more money, like you can't be spending frivolously doing this other stuff. So I was like, well, what if I just bought stuff and sold it? Then I could still do what I like and go to the auction or not. And then it was all online, so I could just do it on my phone. And I was like, well, if I just, figured out how to buy stuff and sell stuff, then I could still do what I like to do, but I'm not making clutter and I'm making more money and I'm still being home with the kids. And I won't have to, because I had a part-time job too for a while. I was working, multiple jobs just because I was trying to, well, some of the jobs, I just wanted the discounts. I'd work like one day a week at Cabela's, or I used to work at a country club a few days a week there. And then I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods for a little while just to get the discounts. But yeah, I started looking into like a course on how you can buy and sell stuff, and they teach you how to flip everything on eBay. And I took that and then just ran with it, and then ended up, like you said, finding, what you're good at, your niches, and did the golf clubs thing for the past few years, and really opened my eyes to like how much money there is to be made on side hustles. And I was truly grateful for learning about that. And I know people like you have told me about that before. And honestly, when I remember you said you were leaving the department and you're going to just be selling shoes, and I was like, there's no way this guy's going to make it, man. But, especially sneakers, there's a lot of money if you know what you're doing. So I commend you for that. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I mean, if there was anybody out there that was wanting to start a side hustle, what would you recommend them starting, or how would you recommend them find what they like?
Sometimes, getting constructive criticism. When I worked with you guys, I'd always brought up the shoes and stuff. Everybody laughed at me. And I was like, why are they laughing at me? I'm making money. Even if I showed it, they were still laughing at me. They were always making jokes. Oh, it just work. Why do you focus on that? How I found shoes back in 2012. I'd had some shoes that I wore. I finally was able to afford the shoes I wanted, because my parents would only buy me 1 to 2 shoes a year, and I had to take care of them. So finally, when I got my first big boy job when I moved here to Boise, I started buying sneakers. And then they were stolen out of my apartment, and then I fell out of love for them. And then in 2017, I had a friend named Willie from Puerto Rico that I met while he was stationed here. He had a friend that I was introduced to, and he's like, hey, start buying these shoes. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, shoes make money. I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. I just wear them. So come 2018, I had my daughter, and, working at the prison where I used to work, I needed a side hustle because overtime wasn't working. I was like, I'm not getting time with my kid. I'm not sleeping. I need to do something. And then in October of 2018, something clicked. Willie says, go and buy these shoes. Okay, what shoes am I buying? They're a girl shoe. They're pink. They're called Miami South Beach Jordan 1 mids. Okay, what do they cost? $110. Okay, $122, tax out the door. Bought 10 pairs. Went home. He says, download this app, StockX. I'm like, okay, sure. Sold all 10 of them within a day for $250 a pair. $2,500 after fees and stuff. I walked up making a little over $1,200. That was more at that time in one day walking in and out of the store than I made in a whole 2-week pay period. And it took me walking in and out of the mall. And I went back 3 days in a row after that and cleared out the shelves because they had limits. And from there, it was on.
That's awesome, man. Do you have a favorite pair of sneakers that you've flipped over the years or collected?
I guess the biggest one that means the most to me was a Travis Scott Jordan 1 Mochas. It was the first collab Travis ever did, and the swoosh is typically in the direction is he reversed it. I hit one for retail, which was, I think it was like $185. I might be off a little bit on that. I sold them for $1,700.
Wow.
I ended up buying 3 more pairs for about $1,000 a piece and held on to them until they went there. I was able to do some renovations to my home. That helped me pay back the down payment I put on my house. So I give the credit to not only my buddy Willie, but that shoe for why I'm a homeowner.
That's a cool story, man. How did you end up learning the differences between like real shoes and fakes? Because obviously, if anything's worth having, they're gonna fake it. And I know shoe markets, there's a lot of fakes.
Hmm. So, I mean, most of the stuff I bought was from sneaker stores like Foot Locker, Champs, Foot Action, JD Sports, and my buddy Willie. He had military discount and he'd buy what he wanted, and then there'd be leftovers because they had a lot more allocation. I would just buy from him. You know, I'd pay him a price on top of it. He'd give them to me. He'd ship them to me. I had friends that I would have sit in lines with me. I had cousins. There was one. I guess my favorite release of all time was the Jordan 1 Obsidians. I'd have to say that might have been a 2019 drop, I think. I ended up hitting 36 pairs. I made over $9,000 profit. They were $160 a pop. You know, they were selling for around 350, 400 at a time. It was an insane, and I ended up selling them to a guy out of Utah. And I was like, this is insane. People are buying them, and then they're taking them to their stores and selling for even more than I can sell them for. And so I just kept focusing on what releases were talked about. I looked at Twitter, which is now X, I believe, Instagram, TikTok's a big thing now, but I'm kind of out of the shoe game now. But we're speaking in back then. It's just knowing where and who to source and where and buy them from was important. So I didn't buy outside of my circle.
Oh, nice. So you had a trusted source. It wasn't like you were buying them on eBay or
Nope.
anything like that.
Nope.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I know you definitely had some skeptics, but you definitely proved them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So it helped you get out of the prison, and then you did that for a year and a half and went into the real estate. Is that the same company you've been with now the whole time?
Yep. I got into eXp Realty back in April of 2021 and haven't left. Big reason for me is the support. We're licensed in all 50 states. I'm not personally, but our brokerage is in like 25 plus countries. We have stocks, revenue share, health insurance, bunch of workplace apps where we can communicate with other agents, and the networking is just phenomenal within my brokerage. And so I've had no desire to leave anywhere else as of right now.
What's the most rewarding part of the real estating?
Helping people. I mean, that's simple as that's a simple answer, but just, you know, when you get that call, hey man, I want to look at a house, or you have somebody looking to relocate or downsize or move to be closer to their kids again, and getting to see the happiness on their faces as you hand over those keys, or you take away the keys, you know, from them, and because they're selling. But I would say my favorite part about real estate is helping first-time home buyers, because I was a home buyer 5 years ago and I didn't think it was possible. And so when you get the opportunity to help people that really want to buy, navigate through everything we're going through right now and get into home ownership, it's amazing.
Anytime you can help someone out, I think it makes you grateful. It makes you, when you can help other people and you have the right intentions, then everything's going to go right. What's the most challenging thing you'd say for real estate?
Home prices and interest rates. As we know, we live in Boise. It's one of the top move-to states in the United States. And affordability. I mean, you have to be able to, one, afford it, have to be able to want to be able to pay that payment and find the right house. And I think at certain price points, it's really difficult. I think once you get in that 400K and below range, and heck, even in the 350, it's really challenging. But there's a lot of incentives out there with local lenders, local builders to help navigate through that. And so I'm thankful that we can all come together as one to help our clients.
Do you find that it's a pretty saturated market with real estate agents in the area, or do you feel like it was just like a spike during COVID and they kind of fallen off now?
I mean, just like every business, I think there's a lot of oversaturation, but the good people stick around. And I think it's a really low statistic of how many agents from when they start, they last until 5 years. It's a very small margin of people. So I think with the changes we've had within, you know, real estate as a whole, with the NARS lawsuit settlements with the Department of Justice, we've got ongoing lawsuits with buyer's agent compensation going away, that we can no longer offer it on the MLS. We now have to call agents, and it has always been negotiable, right? There's no such thing as a standard. That's where we got in trouble as a whole. So I think the biggest challenge is just navigating through that. And the agents that are meant to be in this business are going to stay in the business, and the agents that aren't meant to be in the business are going to be gone. And I think there's a statistic out there that said between 30 to 40% of agents over the next year will be gone because of this settlement.
Oh, really? So to understand that, that's the compensation for the seller's fee or the buyer's fee. Is that correct?
Buyer's compensation. So back in the day, up until August 17th of this year, you could go on the MLS as an agent and you could see a cooperating brokerage fee of X amount. That has since been removed on all MLSs across the board that work with NARS, National Association of Realtors, and now you have to go back to the basics of communication. It's always been negotiable. Commission's never been guaranteed, whether you're a listing agent or a buyer's agent or you're seller or buyer. I think it's a good thing. I think it's good to be able to negotiate because, everybody has a number they have to sell, and everybody has to have a number they need to buy. So I think it's going to make it a lot more professional on all sides.
Because I was just assumed too, it was like what was it, 3% is like the 3. That's like just the average. Is it 3.5 or what is it?
I mean, I've been paid 0% and had to negotiate my commission when I had a client call and like, hey Zach, I love this house. Oh, can you send me the listing? Oh, it's not listed. I drove by and it's a little sign that says for sale by owner. You can barely read it because it's got poor penmanship and looked like the marker was out of ink. And I said, okay, give me the number. I call, ring. Hey, Mr. and Miss Seller, this is Zach Romero with eXp Realty. I have some clients interested in your house on blah, 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 blah drive. Are you guys offering a buyer's compensation? Yeah, we're offering 1%. Okay, great. So I go back to my sellers and say, hey, this is what I'm charging. I'm going to negotiate with these guys. If I can't, are you guys willing to pay this? If not, I can work on my commission. So typically 2 to 3%, I feel like is an average, but it's always been negotiable.
Yeah.
So you have to negotiate. You have to be able to prove your worth and value on why you get X amount of dollars or X percentage. So the standard quote unquote people say 3%. I don't agree with that.
What do you think separates a good realtor from a bad realtor?
Communication. Again, being professional, ethical, being responsive, always having your client's best interest, and being able to put the documents in front of your client and say, hey, this is what all of this means. If you have questions today, tomorrow, next week, or even after we close, I'm here for you. Because so many people just throw papers at you and say, sign these. And half the time, people don't even know what they're signing. I have a childhood friend that's brother-in-law is looking to buy a house in North Dakota, and he doesn't even know anything about these contracts. And I'm like, you need to go back to your agent and have her explain these. You don't just sign things. I don't just sign things, do you?
No.
Right. You need to be able to understand what you're signing. And if you don't, as agents and professional agents at that, we need to be able to translate the verbiage into smaller terms that people can understand, because I read this stuff every day. You don't. So I'm not going to just assume you know things. I want you to understand what you're signing.
Yeah, I think transparency would definitely set yourself apart. I mean, because like you said, especially first-time home owners, they've never done this process, so they're just excited to get a house, and there might be some people that didn't ask questions or didn't get explained to. They might be signing something that they're going to regret later.
Yep, because most people think, oh, I just have a mortgage payment. Well, what does your mortgage payment mean? They don't know about private mortgage insurance. They don't know about homeowners insurance. They don't know about principal and interest. They don't know about property taxes. They don't know about a homeowner's exemption. They don't know about anything for the average person. But there are people that have bought before or have family members that help them advocate when, okay, well, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that. Because I had a client recently that brought his whole family with him, and it was awesome. I'm like, that is awesome. He's like, I'm sorry, Zach, they all came. I'm like, no, that's great. Your family cares, and I'm here to answer their questions. I love that your family cares, because that shows not only are you going to get a good service from me, but your family's going to help you make the best decision for you. And so we ended up finding a beautiful home for them, got a great payment, and they love the house, got it painted, and they're going to invite me over.
I mean, that's got to be a very rewarding, just to be able to see a family, someone that they can call home and raise their kids. Have you been able to buy a house yourself, using yourself as a contractor yet, or as a realtor? Or I know that's like a nice thing you could be able to do to save a little bit of money, right?
Yeah, we got a little bit of a discount with my brokerage, because I have a broker fee every year. We have a cap. But I haven't personally yet. I'm kind of on the fence. Do I want to sell, or do I want to rent my home out? Because when I bought, prices were really low.
Yeah.
Interest rates were really low. So I think I can rent out and positively cash flow to where I don't think I need to sell. But the question is, where do I live? Do I stay here, or do I move back to East Idaho? Because I have a growing family, and, we're a family of 5 soon. And we've got a 4-bedroom house, but one of the bedrooms, it's on the main floor and it's got a closet, but I don't really like the vibe of it.
Yeah.
So
more of an office.
Yeah. And plus, it's got stairs, and I'm getting a little bit older, and I've fallen down the stairs a few times, and my kids have fallen down them. I really want to go to a single
You're
level
only
home.
30, man. You ain't that old.
32,
Let's
and I
not
feel
joke
42.
ourselves. You're not old.
But
a single story family or a house is cool.
it is. And so to answer your question, not yet, but I'm going to. I'm in the process of possibly maybe holding off on buying for us and buying an investment property. And I've got a realtor friend that's listing a duplex in Pocatello. I'm really trying to buy it, but I've got to find the right lender out there that's going to help me get a rate, because since it's not my primary residence, I'm going to have to pay a higher interest and bring more in.
Because you have to live there, 2 years, or else you're going to have to pay capital gains? Is that how that works?
I don't know. I mean, as far as living in there, I mean, if you have a rental property, I mean, you're going to pay the high-end property taxes, the assessed value of the county, right? Because you can only use your homeowner's exemption once, and you have to live in it.
Oh, right.
Is your primary residence. So with that, I mean, I got to factor in property taxes, homeowner's insurance, the interest rate, the principal, and factor all that and see if I'm going to positively cash flow. And that's a hard part about investing right now, is finding positive cash flowing properties with these rates in the economy.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely thought about getting an investment property as well. It's just, like you said, it's a hard thing to do, especially when there's so many people out there getting them. It's like you got to have an insight that nobody else has, or like, because I know when I sold my house, it was somebody in Las Vegas, like a rental company that bought it out of Las Vegas. Nobody even local. But I was like, I had already signed on my new home. So I was in like a sticky situation, and nobody else had put an offer in. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll sell it to you. I think I hit a bad spot because that was right at the end. Nobody was offering overpriced. You know, it was like I still got a great, price for my house with equity and everything, but it was like right around Christmas time too. So maybe people were holding off. I heard like summertime's the best time to sell your house. That's when everybody wants to move schools or whatever.
Yep, my favorite month is between July and August personally.
Yeah.
I know everybody has their preference, but August has always seemed to be the busiest month of my career so far.
I've seen you posting a lot lately of a lot of closing you've been doing, so I mean that would check out.
Yeah, and I think it'll be like that every year going forward. Possibly have a couple more closings coming up. Just got to navigate through a few things.
Are you listing that $1 million house that you keep posting, or is that yours, or are you just going and walking through it?
I wished. I mean, obviously the end goal for me.
No, that's probably more than $1 million, huh? Yeah.
I think the last one, if we're talking about the specific video that I just posted yesterday, it's like 1.4 million.
With like the nights or something in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They brought those nights from the Luxor Hotel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know the agent, Isaac Chavez. He's a cool dude. He's with my brokerage. And so why I go on those houses is, one, for content. Two, so in the future, when I get the opportunity to list luxury listings, I can show, hey, this is what I bring. This is what my marketing guy brings together. This is what we're going to do to get your home sold. And boom.
I like.
Okay, great. Let's get there. We never do any of them.
Yeah.
That video I just posted, I actually filmed my wife's cousin falling on the trampoline at a celebration for an anniversary of one of my wife's family friends, grandparents, and he fell. Thought it was funny. I said, hey, dude, I'm making a video out of you. And so we were filming this beautiful home. There was a party going on next door at this $1 million house. And I was like, okay, well, we can't really do the drone footage right now. So here we go. I fell down on purpose.
Yeah.
And we opened the door, and then the video just came to light. And I think it took us all but 3 minutes to do it. And then editing obviously is a lot longer. My guy, Jeremy Vasquez with Idaho Pro Marketing, he's a young cat. He's definitely tearing it up down there in Eastern Idaho, and he comes up a couple times a month to film with me. So we film 4 to 6 hours every time he comes down, and it can get exhausting, but it's fun.
Well, that's a good way to do it. I mean, if you're doing 4 to 6 times, you can make your content. You don't have to do it once a week or something like that. You can create a whole bunch and then release it. That's efficient, right?
Yeah, and get it out. I mean, the goal, obviously, at some point, to be more consistent, Monday through Friday, we want to post at least once a day. Right now, we're doing 3 to 4 days a week, but as we progress, we'll get to 5.
I think doing those videos too is setting yourself apart from other realtors in the area, and then you probably have got more attention from people that aren't even looking for a home, but they're just scrolling, and then now they remember your name. Have you found a lot of people coming from those videos?
I don't do it for likes, views, or comments. I do it for people looking for a realtor. They're like, okay, it's not just a guy that sells houses. This guy's an educator. He's knowledgeable in the area.
He's also got a personality.
Yeah, and is
Yeah.
going to advocate for me. And so, I mean, I was sitting down at Legends with my daughter. At this time, she was 4. Now she's 5. And I get this weird call from Seattle. I'm like, it's a scam. I'm going to answer it.
Yeah.
Because with real estate, you never know anymore with all these area codes.
Yeah.
So I answer it, and it's some guy, and he's like, hey, my aunt's moving from North Carolina to Idaho. I looked at your stuff and looked at others. I interviewed him. I want to pick you. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I ended up driving to Idaho Falls, did virtual tours for these clients because they were in North Carolina and Washington, D.C., and about a month later, we found a beautiful townhouse that was brand new with over 2,000 square feet in Idaho Falls, beautiful mountain views heading towards High C, Idaho, and closed on it. They became really good friends through Facebook and stuff, and all because these videos.
Wow.
It's just being presentable, because so many people are non-existent on social media, and there are people that are successful with it and without it, but I have to credit social media for my business growth.
What made you want to start doing different videos and things just to set yourself apart from other realtors, or was it just all the trying to get a personality out there and a name, or like a face to the name?
Showing more of a personality, because anybody can film houses, but actually getting out there and putting yourself to be out there and be vulnerable, because you're going to get judged regardless of what you do or don't do. So why not have fun with it? So that was really one of the videos I started letting loose, showing my sneakers. We're going to start doing a little bit more with my family. I've got a camera. My marketing guy is going to show me how to use it. And he's going to start editing them, and we're going to have even more videos, because I think when you're showing personality, people want to, 1, know that you're a realtor, but 2, who they're hiring. And if I'm just this guy that's hiding behind a door and I'm selling houses, that's great. There's plenty of people to do that, but I want to show my personality.
I think that's a great way to connect, because you might find a client that maybe isn't per se looking for you right now, but they might see that you're a sneaker guy, and now they'll start following you, and now they know you're a realtor, and then later on they'll be like, well, I know this guy already from the content he puts out for free. Like, I'd love to work with him on a contract basis, just because I already feel like I'm connected with him without even knowing. So I think that's pretty sweet. Man, that's making some money moves there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I took a risk. Like I said, we had my kid. We went to 12-hour shifts. I probably would have stayed had we been able to do, the 8-hour shifts like I'd wanted. Some people like 12s. Some people don't. I definitely didn't like them. I complained a lot about it because I had a mission. I wanted to do real estate on the side and still work at the prison and figure out if real estate was really for me. But unfortunately, I didn't have that decision because we had a kid. We had a bad experience with childcare, and I just said, what the heck? After maternity leave, I'm not coming back. I lost my benefits, pulled out my retirement, reinvested that into other things, and started watching my kid. And real estate didn't take off right away, and I knew it wasn't going to. I was patient with the process. I listened to my mentors. I learned a lot of discipline from working at the prison. I learned a lot from a lot of the staff out there that, are superior to us with seniority and education and skills and management, and took a lot of that away and my life lessons, put it together. When my child went to Lakewood Montessori, where she's at right now, I jumped full board into real estate, and I've been crushing it.
Yeah. What can you speak on having a vision and seeing that through, even though there's going to be risk? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that might have an idea of where they want to go, but they do have that secure job. They have that safety net. How can you convince someone to go outside their comfort zone?
All right, so this one right here, I have a mentor, Tony Hughes, very knowledgeable, very successful in his career. He's an agent out of Eastern Idaho with my brokers. That's who I started with, eXp Realty. He says, get used to being comfortable being uncomfortable, because when you're comfortable, when you're complacent, you're not going to do anything. So go out of your comfort zone and get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't understand what you mean. And I thought on it a while, because I'd quit my job already. I knew I wanted to do real estate. I went to real estate school. It took me 4 or 5 times to pass both tests. I passed the first part of the test in 3 tries, and then it took me 5 tries in total, I guess, to pass the state. I missed it multiple times by 1, and it's a lot more difficult than people think. It's more mind challenging than it is actually difficult, the way they articulate the questions. But I knew once I got past that, it was game on. I had a vision. The vision was having faith in the process and understanding Rome wasn't built in one day. Amazon wasn't built in one day. I don't want to compare myself to Jeff Bezos because I'm nowhere near that, right? But people laughed at him when he quit his big job he had and started selling books out of his garage, right?
Right.
And went from that to, I mean, look how many Amazons we have in Boise. I just, on my way to here from my house, I drove by his warehouse here in Nampa Meridian, massive.
Yeah.
And it all started selling books in a garage. I started selling shoes and sports cards out of my house and going to events and meeting people. Quit my job that I had, a retirement, a pension, medical benefits, sick leave, vacation. For what? A vision that I didn't know was going to be clear. I mean, I've went through ups and downs, right? But I guess to answer your question, have a plan. It's not going to go how you think it is. Put it down on a piece of paper, and I guarantee you it's just like writing an essay in college. You're going to edit that thing. You're going to critique even after you're done thinking it was perfect, and your teacher's going to break your heart and dreams. But keep going. Keep going. If you really want to have a vision and make a change in your life, understand you're going to go through more hurdles and humps and failures than you are success. And I'm more grateful for my failures that I've overcame than my success, because success is great. Everybody wants to hear about success, but most people don't ask about your failures. The vision that I had was asking successful people their failures, and it throws people off. But I have had some amazing failure stories that I've heard. One from my broker. He used to own a brokerage in Boise. The recession happened, lost lots of money. He didn't quit. He's still a broker today, and he's still amazing. And he's a big role model into why I am where I'm at today.
That's awesome. What are some of the failures that you've had in your life that you've just kept pushing through and didn't quit?
So 2021, November, I went to an event in Renton, Washington, and I was there to sell shoes, and I had a closing on Monday. We went on Friday night. The weather was bad. My wife's like, let's just turn around. I'm like, no. I have faith. We're going to sell all these shoes. You know, like I said, I invested some of my retirement money from the prison into this and, you know, some other stuff. And I said, I got faith. This event's going to be amazing. Weather ended up stinking. The event was so loud, overhyped, underdelivered, terrible. I brought like 67 shoes, only sold 14 of them. Everybody was offering way below market, where I could have just sold them back home for the same price or more. And I ended up leaving my shoes in the car. We went to a buffet. Terrible event happened there. Went home to the hotel. Was going to sleep. My daughter's like, get my blanket, get my blanket. I'm like, nah. You know how we have kids, they don't want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, they're so darn tired.
Right.
It's like, baby, go to sleep. You're tired. No, I'm not tired. And they scream, and you're like, all right, whatever. So you just lay there, and she asked again. And finally, she fell asleep. And all of a sudden, I turned the light off, fell asleep. Woke up the next morning on Sunday, middle of November, and I walk out to check on the shoes. It was glaring, sun out, about 6:30 in the morning. My window was busted in my SUV. All but one pair of shoes was gone. $16,000 down the drain. I call the department, the Renton Police Department. I say, hey, I need to file a police report. They tell me, hey, we're not going to come, but just tell us what happened. I'm like, what? So I filed the police report over the phone. Never did anything to this day. Ended up getting, you know, I had to be to a closing on Monday in Idaho Falls. Keep in mind, it's like 11 hours maybe drive, maybe less.
Yeah.
We get home after having big old trash bags, and I didn't say many words this whole trip home. And took some pictures, called my insurance, because since they came from my house, they're like, well, what are you doing with it? It's like, well, I buy, sell, and trade. Like, you wanted to, and you had an intention of generating an income, so we can only offer you this. I'm like, what's this? $200. I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not filing a policy over that. So I took my loss, ended up getting in my car the next morning, because we got home around 5, 6 that night. Had to be up at 6 in the morning to drive to Idaho Falls, be there by 10:30. I get to Mountain Home, almost to Simcoe Road, and my tire rips. I get out, I pull the piece of tire to look, and I cut myself because of wiring. I didn't see it. So I'm bleeding. I'm calling Les Schwab, praying that I can make it. I went all the way through the back roads there. Went and got 4 brand new tires just after losing $16,000 in shoes. Ended up showing 25 minutes late to my closing. Ended up closing on my clients buying and selling. Had some amazing tacos, came back home. And at that point, I was like, you know what? Nothing can beat me down. I just lost $16,000. My wife was crying. My mother-in-law was sad for me. My kids didn't know what the heck was going on. But at that moment, I said, you know what? No matter what, I'm a man. I have to take care of my wife and kids. Even though I lost that, it's a lesson learned on what not to do. I post on Facebook. Wasn't asking for, you know, any what's the word I'm looking for? Sympathy.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Is what it is. Moved on from there. Didn't quit selling shoes. Didn't quit going to shoe events. Didn't quit selling real estate. only reason I'm talking about it now is a lesson learned. I think it made me better. I was more aware of things. I was more understanding. I didn't let one big thing ruin me because that was a lot of money to lose, 16 grand. Because keep in mind, I was less than a year from being out of IDOC. I think at that time it was like 9 months.
Wow, what a powerful story, man. I mean, just the resilience and yeah, you believed in the plan, and once you've gone through a whole bunch of different things in your life, whether it's trauma or just misfortunes and bad events, and you thought were going to be the end of it, and then somehow, always in the end, like you can look back and be like, oh, that happened for a reason, you know. And once you can like understand that, you can't really have a bad day anymore. You just look at it like, all right, I know there's a reason I'm going through this misfortune right now, but you know, let's just keep going. Because, you know, the only people that get hurt in a roller coaster are the people that jump off, right? So
Love it.
you just got to ride that wave. Man, I've had that so many times before. You're just, you know, you're late, you wake up late or something, and then you're on your way to work, and there's a wreck that just happened in front of you. Like, the cops aren't even there. Like, man, if I was just 2 minutes earlier, could that have been me? Was there a reason my alarm didn't go off this morning? Or, you know, like you just start looking at all this stuff after you have your eyes open to like there's a plan. Or, you know, I don't know about, you know, I'm not completely religious, and I lost faith for a while there in my childhood, but like later in life I've been able to figure it out. I feel like a little bit, and man, it's crazy just to be able to look back and be like, okay, that's why I went through that. I couldn't see it then when I'm in the trenches, but man, that really shaped where I'm at now. And or what does it say? If you're either winning or you're learning. As long as you're not quitting, you're not losing. You learn from those mistakes, you know. I'm sure you'll never put a whole bunch of shoes in the back of your car again.
Nope.
You'll probably listen to your wife. She tells you to turn around, maybe. But yeah, I think that's a powerful story, man. And I appreciate you sharing that with me. I don't know. That would have been a hard pill to swallow, and you just kept moving, man. Going all the way 11 hours. That's amazing.
Yep. Like I said, I wasn't going to let that stop me. I mean, like you said, there's no losses. There's only lessons learned. And you learn something new every day. And playing the what if game, like you said, I woke up late. What if I would have woke up 2 minutes earlier? Would that have been me? So, you know, like you said, there's a plan for you, and you just got to roll with it. Roll with the punches, roll with the good and bad times, honestly.
Yeah, so you had 16 grand worth of shoes, or if you would have sold all those, would have been worth more than 16, or is that what you had into it?
I didn't have that much into it.
I'm just wondering, like, if you would have actually like sold them all, which one would have hurt more, like just taking all the money or the shoes?
I mean, taking the L on the money.
Yeah,
because I was into it less, but the resale value was that.
Yeah.
So either way you look at it, it's a loss.
It's a loss, right?
I looked at it on the higher side for the lesson learned.
I think there's a lot of great things to be able to look at everything from the positive side, because I don't know if you ever heard that thing from Jocko Willink where he says good. Have you ever heard that one? He's like, oh, well, you didn't get the promotion at work. Good. We'll be able to work harder for next time. It gives us more time to prep. Didn't get the new upgrades we were looking for. Good. We're going to be able to work with what we have, and when we get the new ones, it's going to go really well. You know, just being able to look at anything from a positive perspective, because you can make anything into a good situation. I've had to do that a lot in my life, is just being like, well, I woke up this morning, so it can't be a bad day. There's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity.
Nope.
No matter how bad this day that I might think it is, I'm still alive and I'm still fighting. And there's other people that didn't wake up this morning, or there's people that can't walk, or, you know, once you can be grateful for everything and just take a step back and detach from your situation, man, it's just so much better in life to not be playing that victim card. And you also get more control out of your life. Like, all right, I can control this. I'm not going to blame anybody else. You know, you could have blamed the person that broke into your car, or, you know, all that time, but then what would that have done? You can't go back on it, right? So
hopefully they needed it more than me.
Yeah, that's the thing too, man. It's just crazy how things happen. Man, now you're going to be a dad for 3. How does being a dad shape your decisions that you make as an adult?
Every decision I make has to make sense for them today, tomorrow, next year, and when they're even out of my house. So they shaped me into the man I am today. And without those two daughters and my wife, I'm not where I'm at today, plain and simple. Because, like I said, Tony Hughes, one of my mentors, said, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not your why. And I couldn't really think of what my why exactly was. It's my kid. But why? So you had to sit there and you know how our kids say, why, Dad? Why, Daddy? Why, Daddy? You're just playing that thing through your head left and right. And I finally got to a point when he told us that. We were at the Mandalay Bay at EXPCon 2 years ago, and it was a big old room of people. And we were all there in a discussion. The guy that was the big speaker's name is Nick something. He's got no legs, no arms. He's got a middle finger.
I think he was just here this weekend.
He had,
or 2 weekends ago. It was like that growth conference or something in Boise.
Dang, I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
He literally had hundreds, probably maybe thousands crying in that room. I was one of them, not gonna lie. And one of my mentors, Merrick, next to me, we're all teared up. He ended up flying out that next day instead of staying because of his daughters. We both have daughters, and I just dug deep into my why. And I mean, to keep it simple for now, it's my kids, and have to have that clear vision and conscience, knowing that I brought them into this earth, and I got to be the man today, tomorrow, next week, and be a good father figure to them and make good decisions that are going to have their best interest. And sometimes it's hard to make those decisions. Like, we live here, we live 3.5, almost 4 hours away from family. But why? Because the education, the resources, the tools, everything that we lack on the other side of state for what we're trying to do with our kids is here. So we sacrifice them being around family, but they're getting good education, good learning skills, and I think they're going to be better off.
What values or lessons do you think that you try and pass on to your kids the most?
Being a good person, not judging people, not being a bully, not getting bullied. Just, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. Like, we've got a goddaughter, me and my wife. She has autism, and my kids love her. She's really on the fence of wanting to do things, but when she's with my kids, she just loves it. And I love that my kids are so kind. Like, I was like, man, I wasn't like that when I was a kid. I guarantee it. We have a kid at a playground in our subdivision. He's deaf. My kids played with him. They understood he couldn't talk. And we could teach him sign, and we're working on a little bit of that. But just knowing my kids don't care. I want them to understand that everybody's different, and it's okay to be different in any way and shape and form. And so I just want, at the end of the day, the one word is kind. Because there's too many people that are rude and insensitive to everything, and I don't want my kids being like that.
I think that hate's definitely taught, whether it's picked up on from the parents, or I like to go by the saying that kids will always fail to listen to their parents, but they'll never fail to emulate them. So it's like you can't be telling your kids, like, just listen to what I say, not what I do, because they're not gonna. They're gonna, this is what they see. This is their environment. And that's awesome that your kids, get along well with your god child. And my son also has autism, and it's definitely a challenge, man. It's I think that later in life, as I said, like, I've started finding some faith. I'm not completely there yet exactly on which, I don't know. I think that as long as you can follow your conscience, that's your true North Star, because your conscience will never leave you. But I start thinking of like why did I get a kid with autism or something when I first got it? I was like, man, that's a terrible way to look at it. And then I got a kid, and like, I just held him. I was scared, when they told us, because we started seeing signs, but I was like, oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna handle this. I'm not naturally a patient person, and like, I'm really edgy, and I'm like, well, that's probably why it was given to you, Like, once you can flip the script of like why to like changing your tone to, okay, well, why did this happen? And you start looking at it from a different perspective. Like, the biggest blessing in my life is having him in my life now. But it's man, I think you're just given the stuff that you need, even if you don't understand it. And it's definitely taught me patience and more communication. I have to do a lot of things differently than I would with my other kids, and a lot more active in the house. Everything's all locked up, man. He doesn't talk, but he is the smartest kid I've met for his age. Like, oh man, he won't ask you for what he wants. He'll just go get it, and he'll figure out a way. We had to bungee cord all of the chairs to the table because he would like scoot the chair all over the house to get where he needed to get. And then once that stopped working, he was just using his toes to get up in little cracks and push himself up on the counter. And man, he keeps us on our toes. You know, I mean, we've had some close calls, some scary calls. Before we had locks on the doors, he opened up the front door and ran straight out in the middle of the road and like narrowly within like a half a second missed the bumper of a car. The car came by and he like barely passed. They passed the hole and then he barely went behind their car. And they weren't speeding or anything. They were going regular, but it was like 20 in a subdivision, and that would have definitely killed him, you know? Yeah. And like for us to be able to watch that like of your own kid, and it was on our doorbell camera too, like you could see everything. Oh man.
It's a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely some of the things that like I said, I go back to instead of switching it to why me and playing the victim role, you're like, well, this has a plan, you know? And I don't know, man. I think it'll help out with everything in life. You just got to accept that there's a plan for it.
Yep. And every person's different. Like I said, that's what we teach our kids. Nobody's the same. Nobody's perfect. I think we all have flaws, and you just got to look at the situation. I mean, I don't have any kiddos have autism, but who knows? Maybe my next kid does. I'm going to love him or her, but like I said, it's challenging, but he's here for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So with you being a father and working so much, how do you try and keep a work-home life balance?
Right when they go to school, I work. And I usually try and turn it off when they're home. But obviously, calls come in and texts come in. But, you know, usually most clients, you set the expectations, and they're going to have questions and stuff. But I like the idea that I have a way of making my own schedule.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm thankful that I even get to watch them go to school, and thankful that I get to watch them come home from schools more than enough, because had I still worked where I was before, 6 to 6 p.m., I would miss both. You know, I wouldn't be able to go to gymnastics with them. I wouldn't be able to go to dance with them. So even if I'm on my phone and I'm only getting to, you know, be on my phone as I'm watching them instead of actually getting to really watch them and focus, I'm at least there.
Because, you're still present.
Because my father worked a lot. You know, he worked at the National Laboratory back from like 91, I think, 92, all the way until 2015, from when I was born until, after I was after the house. And he worked at Domino's Pizza as an assistant manager because one of my dad's childhood friends owns a couple of Domino's down there to help him out, and he was always tired. Worked 12-hour shifts, was an hour and a half drive each way depending on road conditions, and there were days we didn't see him, even though we lived in the same house. And I love my dad and respect the sacrifices he did, but it taught me that I can't do that. You know, my friends laugh at me like, dude, you're gone for 2 days and you act like you've been away from your kids forever. I don't care. I love my kids. I hate being away from them, but when I leave, it's calculated and for a purpose. And so just understanding that I'm not leaving to go out of town just to have fun. It's for work, so I can come back. And at some point, my business can be able to run itself to where when they're 15-year-olds all the way to they're out of my house, I'm going to have even more time with them, you know, and be able to be there for their high school games, whether they're golfing or gymnastics or cheerleading or even just in debate or something. I'm going to be there because my dad missed a lot because he worked, so my mom didn't have to. And just got to balance it. It's tough, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. One person told me before, he's like, you just got to remember that you're trying to give your kids a life that they never asked for. So I know that you think that you're trying to like give them the life that they want, but they just want their dad present. They don't care about all the nice things that you think that you're going to be able to give them, but they just want their dad present. I'm like, man, that's so true. You know, they don't really care about that kind of stuff. They just want to be able to be with their dad and their you know, their mom if their mom's out working, because there's a lot of moms that are, you know, trying to build careers too nowadays, not just all one income households. That's pretty rare. Yeah, it's definitely seeing that end vision though, because I think as we were talking earlier, like when you have a vision of where you want to be, like you're just so determined to work hard and like you just want the best for your kids, but they just want their dad, you know. It's a hard thing to have to check yourself though. You got to detach from that situation and realize where you need to do it. I mean, that's the number one reason why I get up at 2:45 in the morning to go to the gym, because I would rather go to the gym when they're sleeping, they don't care if I'm gone when they're sleeping. It doesn't matter to them. But when I get home, they want my attention. And if I were just to get home and go get my gym stuff, and now I'm gone for an hour and a half workout and a half hour in travel time, that's 2 hours of maybe the only 4 hours I get between the time I get home and the time they go to bed. And then between, getting other stuff done for the night, how much time am I really there for and present for my kids? I'd rather sacrifice a couple hours of my sleep and go get what I need to get done to keep my body in shape and be the best example for my kids as I can, but also while they're sleeping. Sometimes on the weekend I'll go a little bit earlier and they're awake, but it's like 6 a.m. and then I'm home at like 8. So they don't see me in the morning, but I'm still there the rest of the day, because I still figure that I got to sacrifice a little bit of my time for their time, because I only have so long. I keep reminding my wife and she hates it, but I'm like, we only have 10 more years with our oldest daughter, or no, eight more years now. I'm like, we only have 8 more years. Like, I just keep remembering that you're in the good times while you're still in the good times, and it's kind of hard to remember that. I seen the guy post today. He's like, I know when I turn 40, I'm going to give anything that I have then to be broke back at 32 when I'm at now, So it's like, you just got to try and remember that these are the good times that you're going to want back later while you're still here and your kids are young. And I got to try and remember too, my daughters are going to be turning teenagers here shortly, and they're not going to want to hang out with us anymore. So that even cuts it down even more. I don't have 8 years. I only have 2 years plus maybe a year with the rest of the 6 years that they're going to like in all the time, like a day here, a day there or whatever.
You're lucky.
Yeah. So like when you really break it down like that, it's like, man, I need to maximize on the time that we have.
And that's why the vision I had was, I was like, it's going to suck before it gets better. And then it's going to suck, and then it's going to get better. It's a roller coaster, because just like any business, most successful businesses didn't just start today and blow up tomorrow. There are rare cases where that stuff happens, but we got to be honest with ourselves. It takes time. And every day I wake up, I'm just full of gratitude that I get an opportunity to wake up, be a father, be a husband, be a friend, be a realtor, be a son, a grandson, whatever else role I play, right? Or role somebody I play in their life. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I've got a 5-year-old, should be 6 next Sunday. I got a 3-year-old that's going to be 4, and then we got another kid on the way. So trying to balance that on top of trying to balance, having my personal time and my work time. It's tough, but I'm thankful. I took a risk, and I don't like gambling. I mean, I lost $20 at Mandalay Bay last October. I'm still pissed about it. I'm talking about it now, and I'm not a gambler. Like I said, I tried it just for the experience, but I hate it. And I took a massive risk. It was a big gamble to just leave the department that I worked at, because, like I said, I had everything that you need for the comfort and complacency. And I left it out. And when my wife asked me, she's like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I'd be lying to you if I said, yeah, no, I don't know what the heck's going to happen. We're just going to roll with the punches. We're going to see what happens." Well, what happens? What if you ran out of money? I go and get a job. That's the worst that's going to happen. What if you can't find a job? I'll go to any plasma. Well, you hate needles. Well, guess what I'll do? The absolute worst thing we would do is sell our house. But we're not going to get there, so stop worrying about it and just follow the process and have faith it'll all work out. Luckily, it has so far.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing that I think a lot of people face is backlash from telling people their vision. Did you face any of that, like telling your parents like you wanted to leave your steady job, or any? I mean, your friends will try and keep you. I think a lot of friends will try and keep you because they don't want to see you get better than them or leave them. No, just stay here, dude.
Yeah, I told 2 workers. I told Muzenda, and I told Austin Temez I was leaving. Temez was on board. Muzenda, "Oh, you don't want to do it, da-da-da." Because, he was military for X amount of years. I don't know if he's still in it. I haven't talked to him. I don't even know if he's still out there. But then he was X amount of years with the department. And so he was complacent with his careers and fine with the money he was making. But what I seen so many people struggling out there that ended up doing double shifts, draining themselves, ruining their relationships, getting into drinking, and some of them even going off the deep end and ending up in county jails and stuff, right? I don't want to be that person. And so I finally took the leap of faith. And, I said, regardless if people want to believe that I'm going to do this or think I can do it, I can't care, because at the end of the day, I'm in control of my own life. I'm in control of my own fate. Every day I wake up going to work, I could die going up and down those hills and those gravel pits. I could die going to show a house. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I want. My mom supported it. My dad supported it. My wife, obviously, being supportive, but she was nervous. My mother-in-law was nervous. I had a really close childhood friend that's like, dude, it's not like selling shoes. You're helping people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a house. You've never done it. I'm like, guess what? You got to start somewhere to get somewhere. And
Right.
so many people won't even take that first step. It's like a kid. When your kid starts to try and walk, they're going to fall before they just get up and run. You don't start out in life at birth and get up and run a marathon. It takes time, right? And even if you're a successful marathon runner, you still run through turbulences and errors, and there's somebody always going to be bigger, faster, and stronger. Records are meant to be broken. Think about it. And so it was tough because I had a lot of criticism. One of the sergeants I used to work with, I think he retired.
They're still out there.
He is. Yeah, he used to joke with me about my sneakers and stuff. I love the guy. He was a good guy. And, he had his first daughter. And I think after he had his kid and, we all started talking, it was weird because all the years before he didn't have his kid. And he had a daughter, I think. And he was one of my biggest supporters, but one of my biggest critics, I think, within the department. And one thing that I think really helped me overcome my fears of leaving was, how we get those reports at the end of the year for our end of the year evaluations for our pay raises.
Mm-hmm.
I got something along the lines that said, Martin works good around others, but when others aren't, he tends to follow them, which was true because the crowd I worked with, we were just too much together. I played around too much at the end, and I realized that going into real estate, you're not going to have anybody to follow. You're going to have mentors, but they still got jobs and families and stuff to take care of. So I really had to do what was best for me. And like I said, that first year of raising my daughter was a challenge, but I really dug deep and learned, did trainings, went to events. I was dead broke almost when I went to my first event after those shoes. I still went. And it was game-changing, life-changing, and without that event, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today.
Yeah. Did you find there was a lonely chapter for a while? Not a lot of support, but you just had to believe in yourself?
Yeah. I mean, the minute I quit, after I didn't come back from maternity leave, the friends I thought I had, a lot of people disappeared. Nobody was talking. My friends, hardest people to work with, they say sometimes could be your friends and family, and your biggest critics can be your friends and family, but I think the biggest critic is yourself. And so I got a little bit depressed, I'd be honest with you, because I went from being a full-time employee, working my whole life for somebody else and having that stability to, I wasn't making sales outside of within real estate. Obviously, the cars and shoes money was good. It was more than enough, right? And I was able to sustain bills, but I felt like there was something empty. I felt like dark moment where I was like, did I really do this? This is crazy. And then I got a little bit more focused on the cards and shoes and got away from what it was, the real vision, which was real estate. But I think probably, like I said, around August, it hit me. I was like, dude, I got to get going. And then from there, I got going. And then November happened, and then that really changed my life. And then from November of 2021, it went from being cloudy to just sunny. And obviously, I have the hills in between and the bumps, but it took a little bit. Like I said, that 6 months was hard. I have friends that got into real estate that are already out of it, friends that are in it that are still struggling. They're even 5 years into it. So I'm thankful for where I'm at, but it was a dark moment, and I had to get through it. But
do you think that it made you stronger going through that dark moment instead of just quitting like some other people have?
Yeah, definitely, because, if you can't battle through adversity, you're either going to battle through or you're going to quit. And I didn't want to quit because I already quit my job to do this. So, I didn't want to get to that point where I told my wife, hey, I'll just get another job. We'll donate plasma. We'll move. We'll sell our house. I didn't want to get to that point because we were already going from, I quit my job and I was going to go to the green side, where they say grass isn't always green on their side. And it's true. But I battled that saying, and it was a lot greener because I'm seeing it. I'm able to enjoy my life. I'm able to see the vision that I didn't know that was fully visible when I quit. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. I found that you definitely have to be careful of sharing your big dreams with small-minded people. Yeah. Because they're going to hate on what they gave up on. They're going to look at you and they're going to be uncomfortable because they know that you're in a safe spot and you know, they might tell you that they want the best for you, but and there's some, you know, maybe like your mom and your dad, like they might want the best for you, but they're still, if they're not in this position that where you want to be in, their advice is only going to get you to where they're at because that's all they know. So, and it's hard, especially when you tell your family members of your vision and they're thinking you're crazy and almost like that they think that you're selfish because you're not thinking about your family and you're going to make your family suffer for your own wants and they don't see the vision that you have. So, you know, I got to the point where I had to kind of just pick and choose who I told my beliefs to and my vision. And I think that happens to a lot of people because they want their closest people to be their biggest supporters, but people don't support you until you've made it.
Yep, that's spot on. I mean, you know, you have grandparents that raised our parents, right? And they have their ways of life. But as you know, back when my grandparents were born to when their kids were born, which are our parents, to where we're at born and to where we have kids, look at how much life's changed. So there's a movie here on Out with Old, In with the New. Bob Barker and his pages is those old pager phones. Do you see those around anymore?
Mm-mm.
We don't have. We went from corded phones to cordless phones to cell phones to big time phones that can literally do everything. Right?
Yeah.
And so I felt like just like technology, it's so evolving, it's always changing. So if you can't adapt and change, you can keep some statues of where you are with your principles of who you are as a person, how you're raised, but things have changed so much to a point where your old man can't even work on your brand new car that you bought in 2025 because it's so techy.
It's all computer, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so now you have to find ways to navigate through and find new relationships to help you. Not that you don't want your old man to do your work for you anymore, but he can't. So I think my dad, now that he sees it, he's proud of me. You know, we have a good relationship. My mom's proud of me, but my mom is complacent. She's fine working in Shelley. She works as a lunch lady. She's done it forever at one of the elementary schools. My dad quit the Idaho National Laboratory, and he's worked at Pacific Stone Recycling since 2015. Hard worker, but he's beat down.
Yeah.
He's 55 this year, and he's moving around like he's 65 because he's done so much hard labor, and I respect and condone him for that, but I don't want to be that way.
You know, I got to a point, too, working at the prison where I can look around and see what my future is going to be like if I don't leave. Like, that's one of the, I think maybe there's a lot of jobs that you can look around and see what it's going to be like. I'm not in a hurry to leave right now, but it's definitely, you know, eye-opening. You can look around and be like, well, that's my life. That's my life if I keep on the same path I'm on right now. And that's fine for some people if they don't have, you know, a vision, because maybe in their family, being the first one to have a 401k and a steady job, like that's a big thing. And if that's your goal and that's what you want to do, then that's awesome, man. More power to you. It's just that some people might have some kind of a vision. And, you know, I had to get to the point myself that I won't ask somebody for advice that I don't want to switch my life for their life. Because if I ask them for advice and I wouldn't want where they're at, the advice that they're going to give me is give me the results that they have. Because they can't give me any advice that's going to get them higher. Otherwise, why wouldn't they have done that? So that comes back to like the, you know, small-minded people, or, you know, the small-minded people is more of a negative thing. I wouldn't say that asking for advice from some people that might have the best interest for you, but you can't ask for some advice if they haven't done it. Because I think the best advice is from people that have done it. And on a kind of same note, but separate note, when it comes to like people that are negative towards your growth, you won't find a hater that's ever doing better than you. You know? So you can take everything that they say with a grain of sand because they're hating on the thing that they give up on. So yeah, man, it's definitely a lonely chapter. It's hard to find people, especially if you're trying to talk to coworkers about what you want to do, or I don't know, maybe you've heard this one, but people will say, "Man, you've changed."
Yep. You hear that all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
I haven't. I still wear shoes, still wear hats.
Yeah.
I'm still goofy. I still talk a lot.
But I also say we're supposed to.
Yeah. If you
Like,
don't change, what are you doing?
yeah, you're supposed to change. Evolve and grow. Like I was always a guy saying the really off the wall stuff, trying to get some kind of a reaction, or like just being the funny guy, or I think that was some insecurities that I just had to cover up and just being,
Same.
as people do. But yeah, I've heard that a lot. Like, you've changed. You're not the same. And I think it does scare people because they like that person that you were. And so when they see you differently, they're like, well, this isn't the same guy. And they still want you to go drinking with them, or I don't know. For me, it was like drinking stuff. I lost a lot of friends. I felt like maybe not, I didn't lose them, but I lost contact with them, Like, I would realize that people were only contacting me because we were doing something that involved with drinking together. And then I stopped drinking because I wanted to be a better example for my kids, and I was trying to lose weight, and there was a whole bunch of other things, but it just wasn't getting me anywhere closer to my goals. So anything that wasn't getting me closer, I had to get rid of, all my vices. And I noticed that there was people that stopped inviting me to events, or, really just talking to me. And they're like, oh, you don't drink anymore, so we didn't want to invite you. I'm like, well, I can still hang out, but, that's cool. And people just grow apart. And then, I think to attract the right people in your life, you got to become the right person in your life. So some people will just naturally veer off.
Yep. It wasn't meant to be. Were they ever your friends? Were they ever your real crowd? And some people never get out of that mentality. Like you said, you don't want to stay where you're at forever. But if it happens, it happens. But I didn't want to stay there forever because there's only so much you can do within that specific spot. With me, opportunities are endless. I don't have to stay in Idaho. I can move and go somewhere else and be an investor. I can go and be a property manager. I can go and sell real estate here. I can go and sell real estate there. Multiple states. I can travel back and forth. I can meet people. I can do a lot of things. Build my own schedule. I can work away from home. I don't have to have set vacations times. I don't even have to sell 1 month because, August was so good. I made more than I did in my old job in 1 month in 2.5 years of working where I did.
Wow.
In 1 month. And that's not a flex. That's not to be cocky or arrogant. That is simply saying my vision is paid off. I lost a lot of friends, lost a lot of accomplices because, like you said, you used to drink and they don't invite you. Well, I can still hang out. You're not the same person because you're not drinking, Matthew. Yeah. Well, you're right. I'm sober, but I'm still fun. I'm still Matthew. My name is still Matthew. No, nothing changes, right? But I think for me, people have said, you've changed, this and that. Well, of course I have. I'm a father to 2, soon to be 3. I'm married. I have goals. I want to stay on the right path in front of the public. So I have to make good and cautious and concise decisions because if I do one wrong thing, I go out and drink like I did back when I was 21, get a DUI or hurt somebody or hurt myself, my career's over, I think. So I stay on that fine line of if it doesn't benefit my family and it's not in the best interest of my family, it's not for me.
That's a great way to look at everything. I look at it pretty much the same. Is this action I'm going to take going to get me closer or further away from my goals? And if it gets me further away, then I don't need it. Yep. I mean, there's been moments in our household that we've just unplugged all TVs because it's such a waste of time for us, And then if I got goals and I want to get, I was working on the studio a lot this year. And if I don't get that done, then I can't pursue my visions. And, it's like, okay, well, you have to start doing an audit of your time. And you're like, well, I guess I don't really need to watch Suits the next season or whatever, It's like, so it'll still be there if I ever want to watch something here and there, or no fantasy football for me this year. I never really was like huge into football, but it was like something I could get together with my buddies and we could drink. And, it was like, so a lot of those things just went away when you just make a couple different decisions. But you really just have to sacrifice for your goals, or your goals are going to be the sacrifice. I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of people, like you said, are complacent where they're at. And it is hard too, because there's times where you want to bring them along the journey with you. You know, where you're like, man, like this is, you know, probably like you were trying to tell people with the sneakers, or, you know, when you first got into real estate or whatever you were doing, and you're like, man, like you should leave your job and just pursue what you want to do, or like there's so many other opportunities out there, and they're like, no, I'm good. You're like, all right, dude. But you also have to get to the point of realizing that you can't waste your energy on people that don't want to change.
Sometimes, like I said, I don't think it's good to be complacent, but to each their own.
Yeah.
And I respect people's decisions. And maybe they had a vision and failed and got scared and don't want to do it again. But I mean, most people that, you know, sit at a career for 25, 35, 40 years, when they retire, they get some little plaque. They get their retirement, their pensions, and they walk away, and then they're just replaced and forgotten about. You get a little plaque on the wall as you're walking into the office. Oh, Susie and John Doe worked here for 30 years and did this. Great. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you're replaceable. And so having my own vision and being able to have a life worth living is why I'm in real estate. Life worth living. What that's to me, having as much time with my wife and my kids, my family, my close friends, people that I care about, people that care about me, and the people that didn't see my vision, the people that still don't see it, the people that don't care about me, the people that hated on me, the people that love me. I love you all. I don't hate anybody. I think hate's a strong word. I think that the man above puts people in your life, whether it's for the good or bad, to help you and challenge you. And if you don't have challenges and battle adversity, your vision's going to be very dark and you're not going to get anywhere. You know, start with a flashlight because your vision's going to be dark. You're going to have an idea of where you want to be, but to crack into the sunlight and right off into the sun with your vision, you have to get through that wall. And that first step to get through that wall is taking the first step. It's hard. I'm not going to tell everybody to do it because I don't want to be held accountable.
Yeah.
But I do challenge people out there that if they really have something what they want to do, go out and try it. What's the worst that can happen? You know, you talk to too many people, you get too many different opinions. I'd probably say that maybe the three closest people in your life, and I don't know who it is. For each and everybody, it's different. But I talked to way too many people.
Yeah.
And it didn't help. And then, you know, I stayed there for almost 7 years. I had a vision in 2018, but people kept pulling me back in. And I was like, I'm never going to leave. I hate this place. I'm getting fat. I'm getting negative. People don't think I'm funny anymore. People don't like me because I'm just dwelling on everything. I'm hating it. And then everybody else was hating it there because it was a dark environment.
Yeah.
So I made that switch when I was at Town Hospital. And me and Temez worked in Town Hospital together, and he's no longer there. Love that guy. He's vibing out, loving life. He has kids now. I'm loving life. We're all happy. You're looking good.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, dude. I think that it's been awesome to watch your journey. You know, it looks like you've impacted a lot of lives in positive ways, and I think that's in the end that's what we're here for. You know. That's what my new goal is now. Try and impact as many lives as possible in a possible way before I die. You know, there were some times in my life where I was like afraid of death, but then you try and like peel down the onion of why. Why are you afraid of it? You know, everybody's gonna die. Humans have 100% mortality rate, so why are you afraid of it? And it comes down to like, if I don't bring any worth, you know, what am I doing? You know, am I just gonna people going to look down at my body and be like, well, he played that safe job for 30 years, so that's cool.
That's it.
Yeah. It's like I read this book. It's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the habits is starting from the end in mind and working way backwards. So, like they were talking about, you start from your funeral. And what's your community going to say about you? What's your friends going to say about you? What's your family going to say about you? What's your coworkers going to say about you? And really audit yourself and see, you know, if that's where you want to be right now. You start from the end and work your way back. And I've taken that into a whole bunch of different things in my life. And I just looked at that and didn't like the direction that it was going, you know?
That's deep.
You had to take a change. And then I heard, you know, someone's got to break the generational curse of your family, or say Trump's family, right? Someone had to be the person that wasn't going to just be doing the 9-to-5 job anymore, you know, whether that was his dad or his grandpa. I don't know their story, but that's just the name that I came up with. But, you know, someone had to change, and someone had to be the black sheep of the family. I've always been the black sheep of my family for many reasons. So I was like, why not make it one more?
Right.
So what's next for you, man? What kind of goals do you have?
The end goal, it's tough because I'm nowhere started. I'm not even started. But what's next for me is just continue to impact lives, continue to be an advocate for people out there that want home ownership, want to sell their houses, want to relocate here, because I think that everybody has a right to live where they want and do what they want, regardless if we agree. I think the beautiful thing about the country we live in, United States of America, is that it's a free country. We should be able to do what we want. And getting to just meet people all over the world that come here from all walks of life and figuring out a way to impact them. I love Idaho, born and raised here. It's all I know. You know, I've been around the United States a little bit, not too much, but getting more and more states added to the bend to spot. But just impact, I think. The end goal, though, like you said, it's hard to think about it because I'm just getting started, but I want to get into new development and plant the seed that said, you know, when I die, looking at my funeral, Zach Martin played a part in this subdivision, this subdivision, this subdivision, and my kids can take over my business. Maybe one day own my own brokerage, and my daughters can take it over. That would be a dream line, but obviously they have the right to do whatever they want. But wouldn't it be cool to have my family take over my business? Because I have a couple family members that own their own businesses that their kids have taken over. And I think that's really cool. I have friends that have generations of owning bread spots or restaurants, and I just think it's really cool. You know, and I want to be able to leave my kids with something. And if they choose to sell the brokerage when I die or when I retire, whatever. But I want to just continue to make an impact in the community, because Boise is a beautiful place. It's my home for the last 12 years, and I think it'll be my home for a very long time. So I just want to figure out a way to stamp my name and to one day be known in Boise as something special.
Well, you're definitely on your way. I think you just keep staying consistent like you're doing, man, and you're already beating a whole bunch of other people that aren't being consistent. So you keep doing you, man. I'm proud of you. It's cool watching you. I knew you were on the top of my list when I was making a list of people to talk to. You know, you've definitely, you know, proved a lot of people wrong about you, and I think that's very commendable. You know, you had a vision in yourself. I think your kids are going to have a great role model in their life, man.
Appreciate you. Like I said, I'm proud of you. Like I said, the fitness journey, because I'm still chubby, even though I left iDoc. You, like I said, I haven't seen you in a while, and you look a lot bigger in person. You're a stud, you know, a great father. You know, I know that you work your tail off to give, you know, your wife and your kids a life worth living. Keep it up. And like I said, you know, at the end of the day, your vision's totally up to you, nobody else. You can ask a couple close people to you, but they're not going to see it because they're not inside your mind. But keep going. Keep moving forward, and your dreams and your vision will happen. And change is scary, but get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you're going to crush it.
That's great advice, man. Where can people follow you at?
Zach the Realtor 208 on Instagram and Zachary Martin on Facebook. I'm always available. My phone number, obviously, is in my Facebook and Instagram page. Even if you just have basic questions, aren't even looking to buy or sell, and just want to talk and hear something from somebody that does this. And if I don't have the answers, I guarantee I know somebody that does. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Zach Martin, everybody.